Hello everyone, peace be upon you all. Welcome to the second video where we analyze the book of Ibn Taymiyyah known as Bayan al-Talbis or the demonstration of deceit. And we start reading in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. With the exception of a Kitab al-Tahrish, the letter K stands for Kitab, which means the book, so a book of al-Tahrish, roughly outlined by Hassan Ansari, which is a modern author, and attributed by him to Dirar ibn Amr. No writings of Jahm or Dirar are extant. So no writings of Jahm or Dirar are extant, except with exception to the Kitab of Al-Tahrish by Dirar ibn Amr, or at least the attributed to Dirar ibn Amr by Hassan Ansari. The doxographical accounts we rely on, the doxographical accounts means the narrations or the stories that are related in concerning or in relation to Jahm and Dirar. The doxographical accounts we rely on condense the doctrines into a few sentences which expose physical, epistemological, and theological theories. The accounts revolve around origination and corruption of the corporeal, changes observed in sensible objects, the question of causal efficacy, and the distinction between the perception, description, and knowledge of composite generated things and the intuition of the incomposite ingenerate God. Okay, these topics, we will learn about them more later on, and so we will not explain them now. In the following, the doctrines of Jahm and Dirar will be treated in two separate sections on the basis of a choice of representative passages from doxographical accounts on their theses. A third section summarizes the theses and draws conclusions regarding the origins and goals of Jahm's and Dirar's theories. Jahm ibn Ṣafwān and the Jahmiyya. Jahm ibn Ṣafwān is the first Muslim theologian in the full and proper sense. His theology is part of his empiricism, grounded in Aristotle's theory of knowledge, explained in the Posterior Analytics. Empiricism is the theory of knowledge in which the empiricist asserts that knowledge can only be acquired through experience or experiments and physical experience, specifically through our eyes, our ears, and our senses. Posterior Analytics is a book by Aristotle. With him starts the conflict between Muslim natural theology and a literalistic reading of the Qur'ānic predicates and attributes of God. Natural theology is our understanding of God based on our understanding of nature, and at the same time, our understanding of nature based on our understanding of God. So it includes the understanding of God's existence based on proving that nature is created. At the same time, we also prove that miracles is possible by proving that God can intervene in nature and other topics. As for the difference between predicates and attributes, we'll talk about them later because they are quite technical, but for now, let's say that they mean the same. They refer to adjectives and descriptions of God. In Muslim sources, Jahm and later religious scholars who were associated with his theses and labeled by adversaries as Jahmiyya are opposed to both extremes of the spectrum of medieval Muslim religious parties. So the Jahmis are opposed to two extremes. On one hand, we have the rationalists, the Mu'tazilites, and on the other hand, we have the literalists or the anti-rationalists. The Jahmis are opposed to both of them. On one side of the spectrum are a notoriously subliterate and aggressive mob, also known as the Hashwiyya, and the anthropomorphists. In other words, those maintaining that God is like other things, also known as the Mushabbiha, who both advocated an ignorant, non-reflective reading of the Qur'an, as well as Ḥanbalites and new Ḥanbalites who refuse natural theology and have been advocating from the earliest time until today a literalistic reading. So, on one side of the spectrum, we have four parties: the Hashwis, the anthropomorphists, the Ḥanbalites, and the new Ḥanbalites. The term Hashwiyya means fillers or stuffers, in the sense of stuffing one's speech with words but no actual substance, due to overusing rhetoric, polemics, lies, fallacies, and so on. And that's why the author is calling them subliterate. They tend to be populists, followed by mobs of laymen as well, not scholars. So that's why she's calling them mobs. When she says Hashwis and anthropomorphists, she's not saying that Hashwis are not anthropomorphists, but they are. They are a specific type of anthropomorphists only. And anthropomorphism, as she says, is maintaining that God is like other things. That's why mushabbiha means assimilators or similarizers, in the sense of likening God to humans. And as she says, these two groups advocated an ignorant, non reflective reading of the Quran. Now, on the other hand, we have the Ḥanbalites and the new Ḥanbalites. A Ḥanbalite is a follower of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and the new Ḥanbalites are not the late Ḥanbalites, the ones that are in the last couple of centuries, most notably al-Buhuti and al-Khalwati. No, she means the Taymis, the Taymites, in other words. The Ḥanbalis and the Taymis refuse natural theology. They have a more complex method of rejecting Jahmism. They refuse natural theology and have been advocating from an earliest time until today a literalistic reading using various methods, not just aggression and polemic, unlike the Hashwis. Ḥanbalites and new Ḥanbalites react extremely hostilely to Jahm's doctrines and call him an enemy of God who led astray, or at least negatively and dangerously influenced, many of the Hanafites, Mu'tazilīs, Zaydis, Shi'is, Ash'arites, and Maturidites, seeing in all who share Jahm's views heretics and unbelievers who must be battled. So, in other words, they view most rationalists as copying Jahm's views, or at least influenced by him in a negative way. On the opposite side of the spectrum of Muslim theology, the so-called Jahmiyya is confronted with the arguments of the Mu'tazilites, the strongest party of philosophically educated early Muslims. So, on one hand, we have the Ḥanbali's and Taymis and the Hashwiyya and the Mushabbiha, and on the other hand, we have the Mu'tazilīs. Despite the opposition to each other, all Muslim parties agree that Jahm is the first or among the first who introduced the principle of intellect, aql, and the method of reasoning to derive opinions from propositions, ra'i, in Islam. The method of reasoning that she is referring to here is logic, where we use propositions to derive opinions. For example, a proposition is a statement expressing a fact, such as, I am a human. This is a fact, this is a proposition. And another proposition is that humans die eventually. Thus, I can derive an opinion from these two propositions that I shall die eventually. So, this is the method of reasoning, also known as ra'i. Ḥanbalites and new Ḥanbalites say that he drew on the principles of pagan Greek philosophy, which he borrowed from Hellenistic philosophers, Christian heretics, and Jews. Hellenistic philosophers are the Roman philosophers influenced by the Greek philosophy and developed it further. However, they are not precise and do not specify from which persons, schools, or strands of thinking Jahm and the Jahmites borrowed their theses and arguments. In reality, I have seen Ḥanbalites and Taymis propose strands of thinking that Jahm have borrowed the theses from, but indeed they are not precise, but they do specify, I mean. And with this, we reach the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Peace.